In this video, I want to talk with you about a transition that we're going through right now. In the role that God has me in, He seems to have given me some sort of spiritual understanding or spiritual eyes of being able to see these transitions. And I don't think that you're unable to see them. I just think this is something that, because of the role that He's given me at this particular time, He has shown me certain transitions and what's happening. And also because of what I do and the access that I have to different people, He is able to speak through the people who I have access to in order to see the patterns that He is demonstrating in each of their lives and their lives collectively. So with me, He will speak through my personal experiences first. Then He will start showing me what's going on in the people, within the people that I'm working with or the people who I have access to individually, and then He'll show me collectively. That's usually the pattern. And He'll confirm it in these different ways, and then He'll always confirm that with the Word. Now, we know that one of the patterns of God is that He gives us a chance, and then He brings blessing or judgment based on what we've decided. Gives us a chance, then brings blessing or judgment based on what we've decided. Now, one of the things that He's been showing me for about the last 3 years is during these transitions, how He is separating the wheat from the tares. And I think I may have shared about this in a solo line, but I know I shared about it in one of the videos, that at one point He had placed a vision, given me a vision in the spirit of Him with a machete, and He was tearing down wheat on the left and wheat on the right. So I don't really know what a sickle looks like or how you use that. Could have been a sickle, but it doesn't really matter. In the spirit, I got the picture that He was tearing things down. And what He said to me is that He was moving on, and He was moving on quickly. And that was about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I think probably 2. In any event, what He was showing me was what I've come to understand, that what He was showing me was that He was moving on and moving on quickly. That He was He was bringing us through another transition, another harvest, so to speak. And actually, I do believe that was a couple of years ago, now that I'm thinking about it, because I believe what He was doing is that He was setting apart those who were going to be the witnesses. So you have to understand that God gives us an opportunity to turn to Him. He gives us an opportunity to receive Him, and He proves Himself to us. And then we've got to prove ourselves to Him by doing the things that He has commanded. What I see repeatedly in the people that I work with, or the people that I'm, in contact with, is that many of you receive the good news with joy and spring up quickly, exactly as God has described in the parable of the sower. He proves Himself. He heals all kinds of diseases and illnesses. People get off their medications. They're no longer plagued by a spirit of fear. And then He starts calling people into a particular way of life. And He does indeed start stripping them of certain things. I have witnessed situations where that happened, where God pulled people out of one cult, all for them to go and try to belong to another cult. I've witnessed Him pull people out of careers that were not of Him, all for them to go back to that career and say, well, God can use me here. I have seen Him break all kinds of bonds, all for people to go back to the vomit. And if only I had $1 for every person who tells me I would do anything to heal. Anything except for the very things that God commands. What they are saying is, I would do anything in the flesh in order to heal, but don't tell me to get into the heart and spirit, because I don't know how to sit still there. And quite frankly, they're not willing to even try. They want the promise and the rewards and the inheritance without doing the work. And so what I want to tell you right now is that I do see God going through another transition, and I think that it's in season, or it is in season, with the high holy days that we're coming up on. And so I've been talking with you about these high holy days in this month of Ethanim that we're coming into. We're ending the Sabbath year. We're entering a new year, but we're also entering, so the new year of the creation year, but we're also going to be entering on the evening of September 25th, we will be entering into Ethanim 1, which is the first day of the creation year and the first day of the 7th month in the Exodus year. This season is incredibly important. It includes the 3 holy days that we refer to as the high holy days, the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and then the Feast of Tabernacles. And in the Feast of Tabernacles, we have the third pilgrimage of the Moadim. The Moadim is simply the 3 appointed times, the 3 feast days in which the Israelites were commanded to make a pilgrimage to the Lord, to the temple. So we've been entering into this time of preparation for being in the presence of the Lord. Obviously, we are always supposed to be preparing to be in the presence of the Lord. We should be doing that every single day because we are the temple now. We hold his presence, and so we're not having to go to a temple structure in order to be in the presence of the Lord. But the spiritual significance of this preparation time that was commanded by God and is still commanded by God, even though we don't go to a physical temple, very much endures, as he has written, from generation to generation. It endures from generation to generation. It is something that we are supposed to be continually practicing, even if in the Spirit. So what does that mean? What does it mean that he has set apart 3 feast days in which we are supposed to be preparing to get into his presence? Well, it means that his return is imminent, that we should be preparing, and he has set up 3 different times throughout the year that we should be preparing for that harvest to occur. And what I have seen is that prior to that harvest occurring, God begins to tell me I'm moving on, and I'm moving on quickly. And in fact, he has taught me the same, that I do not stay with someone who's not doing the work. I do not stay with someone who's giving me lip service, that I am to move on and to move on quickly. You see, I want you to understand something. God's not going to sit there and coddle you until you're ready. He didn't do it with me. I don't see him doing it with others, and he has not taught me to do that with anyone. But what I will tell you is that he will give you an opportunity, and then he's going to bless or punish you. He gives you an opportunity again, and then he's going to bless or punish you. And then he's going to give you an opportunity again. And then there's going to come a time where he's going to say to you, I gave you an opportunity to be cleansed. Now you will not be clean again until my wrath has subsided. And you're blessed if you're even in the category who gets to be cleansed again after his wrath has subsided, because that will be the last chance that you get to be a holy priest, a holy nation to God. And the best you can get after that is to rise in the second resurrection and be saved without an inheritance, without a reward, but only as one escaping the flames. You got to decide what category you want to be in. And the way that you decide that is by picking this up and starting to receive his ministry. Now, here's what I've been seeing in the last week. I've had 3 people come against me this week in kind of significant ways, like really accusatory, veiled accusation. I had one person who was clearly in a cult, and I attempted to confront the person and let them know, look, this is not biblical. Here are the scriptures. I will pray for you. Please do a fast for 3 days so that God will give you clear spiritual eyes. And no sooner did I say that, did I start receiving accusation that I was blaspheming the Holy Spirit. That's just one example of the kinds of things that, Satan sends at me. But I want you to understand too that in all things, God is sovereign. And so anytime that this is happening, I'm going to him. I don't put my focus on the devil. I put my focus on God. And then he reveals to me what's happening in the spirit. So he will start talking with me about, for example, right now, this transition that's going on. And he'll start putting together a picture for me based on the repertoire he's already built in me. Another thing that I've noticed is that his message in me has gotten a little bit more stern and more specific about the cross that we're bearing right now. And when the message gets more stern and when the message gets more specific about what we need to pick up and God starts revealing more to me, what happens is anyone who has a little crack in their armor, Satan slithers in order to try to get to me. Because he can't get to me. He can't get to me anymore because I do this work on a daily basis. So he starts poking around through other people to try to get at those old wounds. So I want you to understand something. When Paul says to be aware of the schemes and tactics of the devil, there are certain things that we know are schemes and tactics of the devil. We know that he's the accuser. So we know that when someone starts with this spirit of accusation and even veiled accusation, which is what I have also experienced this week. We know what that spirit is. We know who's coming at us. And we know that he's able to come at us through that person because of the cracks in their own armor. One of these people has been talking about doing work for quite a while and has not done a single darn thing. So that doesn't surprise me one bit that that person is being brought down right now at this transition. It still grieves me, but it doesn't surprise me. But the other thing that you need to understand is that Satan's going to go poking around at your old wounds. So if your old wounds are not sealed up, he's going to succeed at getting at you. And some of these things would have really gotten to me previously. They would have shaken me up. They would have caused me to wonder, oh my goodness, am I really in him? Am I really doing God's work? But God knows better. He already knows the ways that Satan's going to try to come at you, and he uses that for his good. That's why I've told you so many times that there are two things happening. Anytime that something's raising to the surface, there's two things happening. There's what Satan's trying to do and what God is trying to accomplish. God will succeed as long as you choose him. But you have to know your design, and you have to recognize what's going on in order to know how to invoke that power, how to choose God, and how to lean into what he's doing, not what Satan has no power. The only way that he has power is he's going to try to trigger you and do it in some salient ways, right? He's really going to try to get down to like those things those old, like deep wounds, but he won't be able to succeed. He cannot succeed if God has already healed and sealed those chinks in your armor. As it is, that's what God has done with me because I've done the work. So these things do not have any power over me. And as a matter of fact, God flips it on its head, right? Because then he starts to speak into, when I choose him and turn to him and ask him, hey, what's going on here? Then he begins to talk with me and tell me what's going on and show me, based on the repertoire that he's built in me, what he's been building and teaching me all along, that this is a transition that's happening right now. And so I want to tell you, people are falling again right now. They are falling again right now because God gives a chance, and then he hands people over to the spirit that they've chosen, and that spirit attacks them. And that spirit attacks through them. The reason I'm telling you this is because you need to be on guard. You need to be alert to the ways that Satan might be trying to attack you personally or trying to attack you through somebody else. This is an important transition that we're going through right now, that we're building up in order to be prepared for this time. It is incredibly important for many reasons. One, because we're ending a Sabbath year. So God's people are going to be going to work. You understand? Two, because we are in the 7-year period. So you got to understand the significance of the work that we're going to be doing right now in this 7-year period. And Satan's freaking out, quite frankly. He doesn't want you picking up your cross. He doesn't want you understanding your covenant. He doesn't want you understanding that you're working out your salvation. He wants you to rest on your laurels so that you won't be ready on the day that God comes. The fact that he would send 2 people this week who are in a cult to try to convince me, because he sent one of those people, said that God told them to tell me. Okay, Satan knows my name. I know he does. I am not even questioning that because I know what God has me doing. And it doesn't bother me. I'm not scared of it at all. I'm grieved for the people who are attacked. So the fact that he would send people to try to teach me about, whatever, in total contradiction to the word of God and what God has built in me by his spirit, I got to kind of wonder, what does God have me doing that's so important to him? So that's what I bring to him. What do you have me doing right now? What's going on? Seems like I'm getting hit pretty hard, and you've taught me that anytime that's happening, that there are 2 things going on. There's you, who I'm always going to choose, and there's also what Satan's trying to do because he's freaked out. And when he didn't get me with the first 2 people, then he sent me a 3rd person to accuse me of not doing the work that I'm doing correctly. It's kind of hysterical. It's really kind of funny and pitiful and pathetic because he doesn't have anything, like at a certain point, once you're all sealed up and you don't have that, the chinks in your armor, and you're actually receiving God's ministry and he heals and seals you, there's nowhere for him to really go. you're protected. You know what I mean? And you remember, like, in a couple of other videos before this, I believe it was on the video entitled "This is the Mark of the Beast," I went through the marks in the Bible. I went through every context of where God uses mark. And I talked about the mark or the seal being something that God used in order to protect in some situations, right? Certainly he's marking those that belong to him, and he's marking those who belong to Satan. But he's also in the seal that we have with God. When he seals us, we are also protected. Just as he did with Cain, even though Cain had done a wicked thing, Cain was worried that he was going to be killed when God sent him away. And God put a mark on him so that no one would kill Cain. So that mark was in order to protect him. God also puts a seal on his witnesses so that they are protected until they're done doing the work that they came to do. And then at the end of their 1,260 days of prophesying, they're killed. The beast rises from the abyss and overpowers and kills them. I mean, to be honest, it's really interesting because going through life previously, there were so many things that I was afraid of. And now, anytime that even starts to come into my mind, I think I'm protected. There is nothing that can come against me that God has not sent. So I'm not afraid of any of it, which is the reason that I'm able to speak the way that I speak, because I believe that God knows what's good. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's set me apart for, and he's perfectly capable of protecting me until I've done what I came to do. So the first thing I want to do is encourage you to please pick up the work. If you're not doing it yet, don't delay it any longer. The second thing I want to tell you is be on guard. Be on guard against what the enemy is trying to bring against you right now. Whether it's him trying to tempt your flesh, get into old unresolved traumas, or he's trying to attack you through someone else. And the third thing I want to tell you is hold on, because you're entering into a season right now of those who have been chosen for this very time. And the only way that you can be chosen for this time is if you're picking it up. If you're not picking it up, you will not be chosen for this time, and you will fall. And remember that the word tells us that many are going to fall in order to be made spotless, purified, and refined. If you fall, that's as good as it's going to get for you, is to go through the fire in order to be made purified, spotless, and refined. But there's also the possibility that if you fall, you won't come back. And that is not a chance that any of us should be taking. But that's what I see happening right now. And although Satan's not able to get to me, it grieves me deeply. It does grieve me. Please heed the warning, understand the transition, understand what we're entering into. We are entering into a time of preparation we are engaging in a time of preparation right now to enter into the presence of God and to be used by him during this high holy day season. That is what this is representing. If you have obeyed, if you have done well with this Sabbath year, and if you're finishing, even if you didn't do well, but you're finishing it up right, and you're turning to him, God is merciful. He relents. He sends blessing. Turn to him right now. Even though it's at the end of the Sabbath year, it's not too late. Turn to him and don't fall. Don't let anyone knock you off of your place. Turn to him right now and ask him, how does he want you to live out these next, 24 days? How should you be picking this up? Does he want you to start working through the books that I've written? Start asking him, because this is what you're here to do. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.